Back in 2022, the regressively conservative supermajority on the Supreme Court shattered decades of precedent and overturned the constitutional right to get an abortion, which had been afforded to women for some 50 years. And since then, in every election cycle, the Republican Party has been hammered. And so they, knowing that the 2024 election is right around the corner, are going to great lengths to launder or lie about their extreme views on abortion. And this phenomenon is embodied in a hilarious exchange between Kari Lake and her Democratic challenger, Ruben Gallego. But before we unpack all that, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell. All right, folks, so I've talked about this in previous videos, and the phenomenon of Republicans going after abortion rights, it's nothing new. But a lot of people, I think, take the threat for granted and assume that Republicans, are not looking to litigate the extreme views of their fringe. When actually, that's not true at all. We actually have some pretty compelling evidence that the Republican Party, if you give them the slightest opportunity, would eagerly seek to pass a federal abortion ban to appeal and appease their base. And Kari Lake, who is a Republican extremist, a MAGA cultist, the self-proclaimed governor of Arizona, even though she was defeated by Katie Hobbs, well, now she's running for a second job. Remember, she's the self-proclaimed governor. She's running for a second job, which is U.S. Senator for Arizona. And again, she's going to great lengths to try to sanitize her views on abortion. So the Kari Lake War Room, which is an official Twitter page for Kari Lake, says, quote, "I wish that every woman, when she found herself pregnant, would be able to have the baby. I really do. And I think there should be exceptions for incest, rape, and the health of the mother. Ronald Reagan felt that way. Many, many Republicans feel that way." And then they put a picture of her holding a baby. Then she responds to it with a second tweet that says, "Don't let Ruben Gallego tell you what he wants you to think I believe on this issue. You can read my policy here." And we'll take a look at her policy, because on her website, she says she recognizes that a majority of people in this country and in the state of Arizona hold the view that abortion should be legal with restrictions against late-term and partial birth abortions. Arizona's law currently allows abortions up to 15 weeks, and Kari does not support a federal ban on abortion. Abortion is, as the courts decided, an issue for states to decide, not the federal government. The problem is, Kari Lake herself has given us plenty of indications in the past that that's not what she believes. As Ruben Gallego, again, the Democratic challenger looking to unseat Kyrsten Sinema and take her place, so he's also a rival of Kari Lake, he says, "Your words, not mine. Kari Lake, you want to ban abortion."
I don't believe in abortion. I don't think there's ever a good excuse.
Okay.
I don't think abortion should be legal.
Taking the life of an unborn child is murder.
That seems pretty decisive to me. That doesn't sound much by way of ambiguity and exceptions and the acceptance of the fact that the majority of Americans are much more closely aligned with the Democratic Party in terms of their views on abortions than the Republican Party. But it goes beyond that still. Before I actually play the second clip of Kari Lake here, I just want to point out that the most powerful elected Republican in the federal government is the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson is effectively a Christo-fascist, okay? He is a far-right Christian who wants to litigate and legalize his religious convictions and impose them on others. And now he's in a position to do so as long as other Republicans grab other levers of power. Right now, he's blocked by a Democratic-led Senate, a Democratic president, but he's already got the Supreme Court on his side, and so now the Republicans have to get the other levers of power. Mike Johnson is quoted as saying as far back as as recently as May 2022, so about the time that the United States Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey in the Dobbs decision. He says, "It's truly an American Holocaust. The reality is that Planned Parenthood and all these big abortion providers, they set up their clinics in inner cities. They regard these people as easy prey. I mean, it's true." And he also signed on to some of the toughest anti-abortion bills, according to CNN, such as the 2021 so-called Heartbeat Bill, which would outlaw abortion after 6 weeks. And he's repeatedly called states that allow abortion pro-death states. That sounds pretty extreme, too. And so then you think, okay, well, that's just Mike Johnson. Well, setting aside the fact that Mike Johnson is enough as the most powerful elected Republican, this is what Kari Lake had to say in terms of her support for Donald Trump's agenda.
But I know that I'm very, very keen to President Trump's agenda. I want to be a senator who goes and helps get his agenda passed. He's going to need a majority in the Senate to make sure we do this.
So what she's saying is she's a MAGA cultist who wants to back Donald Trump's agenda. Okay, well, what has Donald Trump said about abortion?
What do you say about your church? They're very, very strong.
They're allowed to, but the churches make their moral judgments. But you running for president of the United States will be chief executive of the United States. Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
So Donald Trump believes that there should be punishment for abortion and you should punish women. Donald Trump has recently said in rallies that there should be a federal ban on abortion.
However, there, of course, remains a vital role for the federal government in protecting unborn life.
So let's be clear, folks, about what's going on. We have a far-right Republican Speaker of the House who has made his views on abortion very clear. He would do anything to restrict it. You have Donald Trump, who, regardless of what his personal convictions are, he's repeatedly bragged about installing the justices who overturned Roe v. Wade. So that's one mark against him with respect to protecting abortion rights and just pro-choice liberty. He has publicly said that women who exercise their pro-choice liberty should be punished. And he also says that the federal government has a role to play in outlawing abortion or preventing abortion. As I've said before, you and I are not obligated to give the likes of Kari Lake or Mike Johnson or Donald Trump or MAGA cultists in general or the Republican Party writ large the benefit of the doubt. Kari Lake is a prolific liar and malignant narcissist, perhaps second only to Trump himself within the Republican Party. This is a woman who can't go anywhere without a ring light. This is somebody who still to this day says that the Arizona election was stolen from her, and she's actually the rightful governor of Arizona, even though the case has been litigated to hell and back, and she's lost every single one. So why would we believe her now that she doesn't want to impose her far-right religious views on pro-choice, pro-life debates on the rest of us, especially when we actually have evidence to the contrary? We're not obligated to gamble with reproductive freedom. We're not obligated to say, you know what, we'll take you at your word. Actually, I would argue we have a moral and intellectual obligation to, as a default position, distrust the assurances that are offered by the modern-day Republican Party and certainly the MAGA inner circle and certainly Donald Trump above all else. The Senate race or the Senate map in 2024 is looking rough. Arizona is competitive. There's a good chance that Ruben Gallego may unseat Kyrsten Sinema, who has not at this time officially announced that she's running again for election, okay? And she is wildly unpopular in the first place. So this may very well be a three-way race between Republican Kari Lake, Democrat Ruben Gallego, Independent Kyrsten Sinema. Arizona is up for grabs. But as we talked about in previous videos, the Senate map for Democrats is so hostile that we basically have to defend every single seat that we have that's up for re-election. We have no margin for error. And so with that in mind, and given how wildly unpopular Republicans are with respect to abortion, I'm going to ask you, and you should ask yourself and ask others, is this really worth gambling over? Can we really trust Kari Lake and Donald Trump and Mike Johnson when they occasionally assure us that they don't want to impose these draconian laws and these draconian religious convictions on us? I say no. I say they've all given us ample reason to distrust them, and that should manifest itself in the 2024 election. That's what I think. You let me know what you think in the comments.